Good evening, everyone. In just 2 weeks, tens of millions of Americans are going to experience dramatically increased health insurance premiums because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. From the very beginning, Republicans have made their intentions clear. They don't want to see the Affordable Care Act tax credits extended because they don't support providing affordable health care to everyday Americans. The Republican legislation that will be on the floor this week does nothing to keep health care affordable for everyday Americans, and they know it, which is why there's an internal revolt amongst House Republicans who apparently can't even get an amendment made in order that would extend the tax credits that are about to expire. There are 214 Democrats who have signed a discharge petition that would force an up or down vote on extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits to make sure that tens of millions of Americans don't experience increased health insurance premiums that will prevent them from being able to go see a doctor when they need one. All we need are 4 House Republicans to join us. There are 220 of them. All we need are 4. And we can extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits in a straightforward fashion, in a manner that we know also has a bipartisan majority in the United States Senate. That was just demonstrated last week. The bills that are going to be on the floor this week, put forward by House Republican leadership, do nothing to lower the high cost of living. They believe, these Republican extremists, that the affordability issue is a hoax. It's not a hoax. It's very real. The economy has gotten worse under Donald Trump's policies. Life has become more expensive. And Democrats are the only people in town who are committed to driving down the high cost of living and fixing our broken health care system. It's my honor to yield to our whip, Catherine Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, and we're so grateful for all that you have done to make this issue reverberate around the halls of Congress, because it's everything we hear when we are home, traveling across the country. Healthcare is the #1 issue for people. And in a season that is supposed to be marked with joy and celebration and light, we are seeing high anxiety and stress and worry, because people don't understand how they are supposed to be able to afford housing and groceries and their utility bills, and then on top of it, afford this skyrocketing cost of healthcare premiums. And the Republicans have put forth a so-called healthcare plan this week that we'll be taking up, but we know their plan because they already voted for it. They already made it their #1 priority. And that plan was to take away Medicaid, Medicare, the ACA tax credit, veterans' health benefits, medical research, and give all of that to the very, very wealthy in the form of permanent tax cuts. And let's not lose track of the split screen that we are going to see in just a few days, where those tax cuts for the very wealthiest Americans become permanent, while the tax credits that help people afford their health insurance will be taken away. So we are going to continue to reach our hand out and say, come join us. 4 of you who seem to now be very concerned about what is happening at home in their communities as they see their political numbers falling. It is time to join us and make sure that we can deliver health care for the American people. They deserve so much better than they are getting from this Republican Party. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Questions?
So are you going to explicitly advise your Democratic members to not sign on to either of the Republican or the Gottheimer or Fitzpatrick district petition?
We have a unified Democratic position. All 214 House Democrats have made clear the best path forward is a straightforward extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And the Republicans on the other side of the aisle are crashing and burning. The so-called House Republicans who apparently are interested in extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits can't even get their own amendment made in order. Why? Because Mike Johnson and House Republicans have zero interest in extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. They're okay with allowing tens of millions of people seeing their health care ripped away from them because they can no longer afford the premium increases that are about to occur at the end of this month. We're talking about working class Americans who are going to experience premium increases that could topple $1,000 or $2,000 per month. How is that acceptable? But the Republican DNA on this issue is very clear. These extremists have voted more than 70 different times to repeal the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And the American people know it, which is why they trust Democrats on this issue, because we're the only ones in this town who are actually fighting to keep health care affordable and to address the Republican health care crisis that includes ripping away Medicaid from 14 million Americans.
But to follow up, I mean, obviously that is your position as the three-year extension, but are you giving your members advice on those two other discharge petitions?
The overwhelming majority, not the only overwhelming majority, everyone within the House Democratic Caucus has the same position, straightforward extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
There are already four, to follow up, there are already more than four Republicans on both these discharge petitions, so why not back one of them?
Here's what the American people want. They want the Affordable Care Act tax credits extended, and they know that one group of people in Washington, D.C., Democrats, are fighting to make that happen, and one group of people in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump and extremist Republicans, have zero interest in extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. That's the reality. The American people know it.
Leader Jeffries, last Friday, the House Oversight Committee Democrats released some new photos from the Epstein files. They included photos of President Trump, but they also included a photo of President Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton and his wife have both been subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee and so far have not complied to come testify. Do you think it's incumbent on President Bill Clinton to come testify, given he was in the photos that were released?
I think James Comer is not a serious individual. He has zero interest in actually standing up and supporting the Epstein survivors. He's been dragged along in this process because of Democratic leadership, including by the top Democrat on the Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia, and that James Comer is not conducting himself in good faith.
So you don't think
Thanks.
that Bill Clinton should testify?
Senator Susan Collins just said that the goal this week is to announce a plan on the Senate side for ACA credits and then pass it next year with a reopened open enrollment period. I'm just curious what you think about that and whether you think a plan next year can help curb any of these impacts you talked about.
I think the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire on December 31st, and the Democratic position has been clear. We raised this issue months ago. And in fact, by the way, Republicans have had multiple opportunities throughout the year, including in connection with their one big ugly bill, to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And they've chosen not to do it. Here's what they did do, Republicans. They enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health centers are closing all across America because of Republican toxic health care policies. And now they refuse to find any resources to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits when they spent trillions of dollars to enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors in their one big ugly bill. The American people know Democrats are fighting to make life better for working class Americans, everyday Americans, and middle class Americans, and Republicans do nothing other than subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless, their wealthy, well-off, and well-connected donors. Catherine? Sure.
Sir, on another topic,
Sorry.
tomorrow I guess is expected to be a briefing again from on what's happening down in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific on those strikes. What are you expecting, or what other questions do you have for the national security official that are coming here?
Well, in my most recent conversation, when the Gang of Eight had a meeting with some of the members of the Trump administration, including the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, we made very clear that there needed to be an all-member briefing for the House and for the Senate. We also made clear that we'd like to see the video of the double tap strike, which many of us believe was extrajudicial and unjustified, shown to every single member of the House, every single member of the Senate, and the American people. If at the end of the day, right, the Trump administration believes that these strikes are justified, then come before the Congress, and we'll see what they present tomorrow, and present the facts that you believe, the law that you believe justifies these strikes that are taking place. And we think the American people are going to find what they will see to be inconsistent with the values of who we are as a country.
Have you had any personal conversations with Republicans about potentially signing your discharge petition, for example, if they don't get their ACA amendment?
Let's see what happens in the aftermath of the Rules Committee vote tomorrow. Catherine?
Yeah, let's see what happens. And I think we have to remember here, the majority is held by Republicans. If they are serious about promoting any one of these bills, they should do that. That should be in their health care plan. So the idea that somehow we are impeding them, do it. You have the majority, and see what happens, and get your votes together. But what we are saying is what we have been saying all along. We have been asking them to come and negotiate with us, to come and do what's right for the American people. Now we are within 4 of being able to pass a discharge petition on a 3-year clean extension. That is the right thing to do. I believe that many of my Republican colleagues know it, and now is the time to act on it.
Yeah, Catherine Clark makes a very important point. Donald Trump is the president. Republicans control the House and the Senate. They've got complete control of government, and they've failed to do anything this year to make life more affordable for the American people. They think the affordability crisis is a hoax. They promised, they lied to the American people. It said costs were going to go down on day 1. Costs haven't gone down on day 1. Costs have gone up. Housing costs, out of control. Electricity costs, out of control. Child care costs, out of control. Grocery costs, out of control. Trump tariffs, causing increased expenses on the American people by thousands of dollars per year. And now these same extremist Republicans refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Now, what happened to Republicans saying, as we heard repeatedly in January of this year, that they have a massive mandate, that the American people were with them? You know what? Republicans got high on their own supply. These people actually believed that America was moving in their extreme direction. It is not. And the American people have decisively made that clear. In election after election after election, beginning in Iowa in late January, all the way through the off-year elections where they were crushed across America, and now most recently in Miami, where conservative Latinos, Cuban Americans, and Venezuelan Americans have said enough. You've gone too far. And so Republicans have a responsibility to try to govern in a way that makes life better for the American people. And we're willing to engage in good faith discussions with them anytime, any place. Here's the problem. Republicans continue to take a my way or the highway approach, and we're just not down with their extremism, and neither are the American people. Thank you all.